And just like that, we are live.
What's
Oh
going
my
on?
God. Hello, everyone. I'm looking and I'm seeing 114 people are already here. And now I'm like super scared. I was hoping only 10 people would show up. And then if it all goes wrong, it doesn't matter. Now it's like, oh no.
It is like the first time we're using some of this tech for me, so I'm like still trying to get account set up. Like it's like I can do my chat with you, but I'm still trying to attach my account
Oh
to the
no.
other stuff. But no, it'll be great.
It's going to be cool. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining, for taking time out of your day to be here with us for the first ever Playwright Live. And hopefully, if it all goes well, we'll continue to do this. So this goes by your feedback. A little bit of welcome. If you don't know who I am, my name is Debbie, and I am basically advocating for Playwright, working with the Playwright team, making sure that you are all testing your applications, that you all love Playwright, and listening to your feedback and taking that back to the team in case you do have anything you want to get a message to the team. I'm the person to come to, and I will take that back. And I'm here with Ben. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Ben. I'm based out of Michigan. I've been using Playwright now for a couple years. I got really excited about the framework, particularly just back in the day of like locators and all these things that Playwright does so well. Had some time on my hands probably like a year ago now and reached out to Debbie and was like, hey, like, how can I get involved? How can I help? And really have just been volunteering time. Up into this point, we've been doing happy hours once a month, but then Debbie and I going into this year, we talked about all kinds of really fun different ways of trying to get involved. And Playwright Live, I think, was one of those things where it's like, okay, we've had a great Discord community. How can we also include YouTube and some of these other things? And so, yeah, I'm excited to have Debbie kind of lay out some of the vision for this and other things that we're doing. But nice to meet you all if I haven't met you, and nice to see you again if you're here from the Discord.
Cool. And yeah, Ben has been a great community member for us, and we promoted him to be an ambassador just literally a month ago, was it, more or less?
Yeah, it was.
So,
It was, yeah, just about that, which was a really cool moment because it was a goal for mine for sure, and it was really fun to do that. And it's been great getting to know the Playwright team. Max is an awesome developer, and it's been really fun getting to know him, and then also just getting to know you, obviously, Debbie, as well.
yeah, thank you. So everybody, we are here for you. This is your hour. So anytime you want to, any questions you have, anything you want to say to us, this is the time. So throw it in the chat. We have the chat open. I'm reading it here. We've got France, we've got Poland, we've got Spain, Philippines, UK, Netherlands, Greece, India, we've got Melbourne. This is great time zone. America's still asleep, most of America, although Ben, you're in America and you're awake.
Earlier. No, so there was Sacramento at the very beginning.
Was there? Wow.
Which means that either that human didn't go to sleep and it's like 2 a.m. and they haven't slept, or they woke up at like 2 a.m. Robbie from Sacramento. So it's potentially 4 a.m. right there.
Wow, you rock. I'm giving you a sticker pack. Send me a message and I'll give you a sticker pack for waking up at 4 a.m. Okay, so what's on the agenda today? Basically, I want to go through a couple of things, talk to you about the community in case you are not already part. Oh, Dublin, yay, go Vanessa. In case you are not already part of our community and Discord and stuff, I want to tell you a little bit more about that. And then I want to go through the new release in case you haven't already checked it out yourself. The video has not been released yet, so this is like hot off the press. And then we will answer any of your questions. So if you have any questions, throw them into the chat. Don't put code blocks in there because we can't read code blocks. But do throw in questions and we will get to them as much as we can. So starting off, community. We are on Discord. We have an absolutely amazing community on Discord with 11,000 members, which is insane. So if you haven't already joined our Discord server, I have a little banner I created for this. Let me see if I can do this. You ready? Watch this. Join our Discord server, right? If you're not already there, join it. We have a help questions in there, so you can like ask any questions you want. And all the community members are sharing the videos that they're creating. So thank you everyone for creating those videos. The articles that they're writing, people are also sharing them. So thank you for sharing those. And thank you for everyone who's always contributing to the community and answering those questions. So make sure you join our Discord server if you're not already there. That's how the happy hour started off in there. We were spending a year doing happy hour, and now we moved on to here. Okay, lovely. So we've got a couple of questions coming in. And Ben, is there anything else you want to add to the community?
No, so the Discord element. What I would say is that consistently, there's always questions we don't get to in the happy hours that I would say throw into the Discord. There's a lot of really great engagement. Whenever I have a problem or an issue, I get great feedback from different people in the community on the Discord. Additionally, the announcements is a great thing to keep an eye on. And then on top of the Discord, I would also advocate for checking out Playwright's GitHub, which you might be planning on covering after this. But Playwright's GitHub is also a great aspect of looking through issues, known issues, and all the conversations there. So no, I think it's one of the better communities, also more positive communities that I've been part of, which has been awesome. No, full send on the Discord.
Great. And I'd like you said about the GitHub, this is really important, right? Because we measure GitHub stars, so make sure you're starring us on GitHub. But how the team goes through and kind of decides on new feature requests, etc., is through GitHub. So if you have a feature request, something that you've thought of that you need, create that feature request on GitHub. If you have an issue, something's not working, you think you found a bug, file it. We read every one of those. So make sure you check out our GitHub and you'll find the link from the documentation. And yeah, do file issues, file bugs, and feedback, very important to us.
Cool. And then the only other thing that I'll throw in is there's other Playwright ambassadors that have come and been awesome on other Playwright happy hours. And so people who have seen other happy hours in the past have seen us do really fun things like little exercises that are 15, 20 minutes with swag, or Max comes on and gets really technical and does live demos, or Tally's an ambassador, Butch who's an ambassador, and some of these other names that you've probably seen. And so I think that we're sort of continuing to try to bring that go with the flow mindset where we'll have different people up, we'll have different people present for different areas. And so I think today being an introduction to this platform, this channel, getting feedback on, do you like it being on YouTube? And then really, I think what's valuable to me for the people who have been at 4 or 5 happy hours, like, what are the things that stand out? What are the times where you come off this feeling like that was really valuable versus, some of the different vibes that we've gone for? And I think Debbie and I both try to bring just go with the flow. It's awesome when there's a new release to talk about, because I think that definitely is always intriguing for people. But that's the only thing else that I'll throw in for added context for anyone who might be experiencing this for the first time.
Cool. Excellent. So yeah, basically make sure you're constantly in our Discord service and giving us feedback and submitting issues on GitHub. So that's the community. We're here now on YouTube. If you like this, again, as Ben said, let us know and we will continue to do more. Another idea I have, if there's any Spanish people out there, or Spanish speaking people out there, I should say, we are thinking of doing this in Spanish language as well. So let me know if you think that is something that would be of interest to you, and we will make that happen.
Yeah,
we won't get Ben to do that.
No, I was going to say, I don't have a monopoly on helping with my time. So this is also something else that a couple of people asked me, like, how did you get Debbie to let you do this stuff? And I was like, I just asked.
That's a great question.
I told Debbie, like, I was really intimidated when I first reached out, and I was like, oh my God, like, Debbie works for Microsoft. This is so scary. And so I was, and she was laughing at me for that. And so certainly I don't have a monopoly on helping. And this was just a product of me asking how I can help. And so I think, to your point, other languages, other formats, other things, but I would turn around and ask you, Debbie, what does someone need to put together, right? Because when I came to you, I think originally it was a completely different idea, right? It was more annual and it was larger in scope, and then it got pared down. So what would be some advice you would have for other people who might be thinking, oh, that's really interesting. Like, what should they put together before it comes to you, I guess would be the question.
I think be clear with your ideas. I mean, Ben, you had a great idea and a full kind of like, you sat down, put your ideas on paper, spoke to other people, other ambassadors, and then came back with this idea. And it was really good because from there, I could take it, to my team and kind of say to the Playwright team, like, we're thinking of doing this. What do we reckon? How can we use Ben? Ben is very energetic and wants to give us his time, but we don't want to do that, what he suggested. How can we change it and do what works for us, right? So it's a little bit about that, but definitely be consistent and let me know, talk to me. Don't be afraid of me. Send me a message, reach out. I'll always answer everyone. It does take me time sometimes to get through all the messages, but I will eventually get there. We're seeing some +1 for Spanish. That's great. Great to have content in other languages. I won't be speaking French. Jean-Francois, my French is not very good, so we might have you doing that though. But yes, Spanish is looking pretty good, so that could happen this month. Cool.
Do you want to do questions? You want to do release first? What are you thinking?
I'm gonna jump into the release and let the questions keep coming in, and I'm gonna let you, Ben, kind of keep a control of those questions. If you want to start copying things over to a notebook or something so that they don't get lost, and then we'll come back to them. So new release. In case you haven't realized, we've had a new release. Woohoo! We have. The video is going to be out very, very soon, but the new release is there. And let me share my screen because then. There we go. Look at that. That's our Playwright docs. In case you are not reading our docs, I'm using light mode just because I'm screen sharing, but normally I live in the dark. But just, So when you go to the docs, you get started, right? And you've got our release notes here. You can also read them on GitHub, but any release notes are always written here, and you can go through these release notes at any time and see what is there, right? I will go through some really cool things. But first of all, this is their GitHub link and this is their Discord link, right? So you should be able to easily join our Discord server and easily go to our GitHub page. So what is new in 144? Well, let's just jump to kind of some cool things and show you directly my favorite, which is watch mode in the VS Code extension. Finally. I've been like, I love UI mode, right? But I live in VS Code and I'm like, I don't want to open the terminal just to open UI mode, just to get watch mode. And I just want watch mode in VS Code. So now we've got it, right? You just literally click the watch mode, and because we're live, it works great. But yeah, it's basically running those tests, right? This is just the example test you get with Playwright. And if I come along and change, look, I was playing it earlier, get started, save it, and it's running that test. What do you think, Ben?
Sorry, I was reading questions as you were presenting this. It was my fault entirely. Yeah, it's really cool. It's been one of the really interesting things watching the VS Code extension sort of as you guys have developed it, right? Because what I found fascinating is I've started with the terminal using debug, some of these other things. Then you have like the extension, and it's been fun watching you continue to take some of these features and apply them both across the extension as well as not necessarily just abandoning other aspects of it, which has been really cool. Whoa, you added comments on the screen. Sorry, that
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. I'm getting confident here.
This is the most professional setup ever. So in that sense, I think that this kind of area, what's fascinating to me is how I don't necessarily do things always how you guys are developing. And then I see so many of the community people really embracing that. And then that leads me to grow and embrace some of this stuff. So like I was kind of a late adopter transparently to the VS Code extension. And then because I was just like, I use the terminal, I'm not going to abandon the terminal. And it's been fun starting to sort of try to question my own old habits. And so I think if there's one thing that I take away from releases like this, as you guys continue to add features, is like keep an open mind, try different things as you have like watch mode added to these things. I think it's always really good opportunities to pick back up different areas of Playwright that break the norm that you might have already been falling into. So yeah, it's a little bit pontificating, I guess, but no, really cool. Really, really cool.
That is great advice. And for those of you who are literally like going to Playwright right now and kind of going, it's not working for me, let me show you why. So here is our extensions, right? We got our Playwright test. And you can actually go along and you can install another version, right? So the latest version is 3 months ago. You do not want the latest version. You want to go and do the pre-release because we haven't actually fully released this because like we're ahead of the game here, right? Users are getting the pre of everything. So you can go and install the pre-release, which is from 2 days ago. You'll see it. That's the current 1.1 instead of 1.0. And you can play around with that pre-release and then you can give us feedback on it. And then eventually in the next couple of days, we'll actually do the full release and you'll be able to use it as normal and update it. But for now, we are using the pre-release. You love better versions, Kalish, lovely. So another thing that is new in our VS Code extension is this Playwright section here. We've added projects, right? So now if you want to run your Firefox tests, right? They're just here then. And you can just run that test only on Firefox. And that makes it much easier in VS Code to literally jump between projects. Now, as you know, in Playwright, a project, Chromium is a project, Firefox is a project, and you can set up your own projects, right? So you could have the mobile emulation, or you could have only your logged in tests, and et cetera, et cetera. And also we have this one, setup. Setup is project dependencies, right? And if you've ever used project dependencies, it's really, really cool because it means one project will depend on the other project. Great for login tests, for example. You want something to run before something else. So if I click on this setup, I'm now activating my setup. You see my setup test just appeared. Okay, so I have a setup, a do login test, and I can run that. It's going to run that login test, right? So it's going to do my login, which should go to Wikipedia and log in. It's a very, very simple test. I'll open that there if you want to see it. Love that. Beautiful. And then I can go and run my logged in test, right? Which is a very simple test for when I'm logged in. And you can see here what's happening is, and I'm running out of Firefox. It's probably going to fail. Let's uncheck Firefox. I didn't do this demo with Firefox yet. Poor Firefox. But look, it's taken too long. So it is Firefox. But as you can see, it's doing do login, right? And it's trying to run Firefox and it's going to fail. I'll stop that and let me run it again, right? I'm going to do a login. It'll run the do login, right? I'm going to run my logged in test. And you can see it's running the do login again, right? Now, this is really slow every time I'm running that login test. Imagine I have 50 tests that depend on that login. It's going to be really, really slow. So what we can do is we can say, right, I've already set up, I've run that test, and we can just uncheck that. It's going to take away that out of my way. And I can then just run my logged in test, right? Which is just a very basic test to make sure that it's actually logged in. And I can possibly just bring it over here. Let me see if I can do this. And there's my trace viewer showing hello testing login, right? So you can see from the trace that I am actually logged in, and you can see it only ran in the logged in test and didn't run the setup again. So that's really, really cool because it just saves a lot of time. So again, that button is here to show your setup or hide your setup, run your setup test or not run your setup test. And that's our update.
And just to be clear then, so all these projects still controlled from the config file as the standard sort of project. So people that might not be as familiar, it's still the standard config file that's driving all these projects?
Yeah, so the projects, normally it comes with, say, Chromium, Firefox, and WebKit. You see these are the default ones, right? And under here, you'd normally have the mobile ones, etc. And I've added my dependency here to use setup. So I created a project called setup with a test match for a setup file, which I have here, login.setup.ts. So it's going to say anything that's in setup.ts, use the project setup. And then this is the cool thing is your dependencies. So I just set up my Chromium tests. Obviously, you could do logged in tests. You could do whatever you want. But I just literally put it in Chromium just for the sake of this demo. So dependencies, it depends on setup. Using desktop Chrome, and I'm using storage state because that makes it easier to save the storage between different test runs, etc. There's a whole blog post on this on our Dev2 blog if you wanted to know more about it, and it's also in the docs under project dependencies, so check out that. But there you go, VS Code extension. Woohoo!
Sweet. All right. Anything else?
Oh God, yes, everything else is so much. Right. Accessibility assertions. This is really cool. I'm not even going to write this, but it's so simple to see, right? You can now expect a locator to have the accessible name of submit. You can have a locator and check that it has, I don't know why that doesn't highlight the accessible name, accessible description. That's going to be changed. That's a typo. We'll fix that. The accessible description, and to have the role. So if you're doing you say you have those check marks and they're meant to be a button, and you want to make sure it's a button, make sure it's accessibly a button, and you can't use the button for whatever reason, then you could test that accessibility here. It's just light accessibility testing. Obviously, you could use Axe for proper accessibility testing, but those new assertions for accessible accessible assertions is very, very cool. So check those out.
Cool. All right. A couple example?
We won't go to the questions yet because there's one thing I want to show that's really, really cool. I'm
All
going
right.
to do it. I'm going to do it in a demo because a lot of people asked for this, right? So now this, I'm going to go to my terminal land, right? So new terminal, and you can run your test, but I'm going to break my test first. Okay. So this is when you're using the terminal, you're not using VS Code. So let's go to the example test, and I don't know, let's break the test, right? Get right? That's gonna break. Okay, that's just an obvious break. So I'm on watch mode, so it's already running. So that's kind of cool because I'm in VS Code, but I want to run the test using the terminal. So let's turn that off. Let's stop that running, and I'm just gonna run my test here. Playwright Playwright test, right? We're gonna run our test, and it's starting to run. It's passing some of them. Do login is running, etc., etc. Now, what happens when you have a load of failed tests, or say you have 100 tests? This is a really simple example. But imagine you had 100 tests, and then like there's 1 or 2 are failed, and then you want to fix them, and you want to run it again. You don't want to run those 100 tests, right? You only want to run the tests that last failed. Which means our new feature is last failed. So watch this, like it's still running because there's still like a load of failed ones here. And I'll just quickly, while that's going, I will show you from the docs. Last failed, right? So once you fix your test, then you run that with the last failed command. And now it's only going to run. Where till I go? We still haven't finished. Oh my God. Let me stop it and run it. I don't know if I suspended it, if it's going to work. Now I just broke everything. Oh my God. No tests found. What? I fail too much because of the projects. So let me just simplify this demo. I'm going to take these setup tests out and just show the example test, right? Let me take out Firefox and WebKit.
And while you're doing that, so I would imagine it's just using the default file path for the report. So in that case, it's just looking for the default report that's generated and then pulling back the results in that capacity.
So basically it's looking at what failed, what failed, and then it's going to run just those failed tests again.
Got it.
Right. So let's see if I can do this. Let's take out the dependencies because we don't have a dependency, and let's take out our storage state, right? So there's a simple project, right? We've got Chromium. It's using device desktop Chromium. This is our example spec, which has 1 test failed. And there we go. Our test is there, right? And the logged in test is going to fail as well. That's okay. So let's open the terminal and run our command. Oh, I ran last fail, so there's no test because I didn't run any tests. So let's remove the last fail first. Let's run the test
to fail before we can run last failed.
Exactly. And I closed that terminal so it didn't record what it done. So I'm only running on Chromium. The example test has title as passed. The get started link is going to fail, and the login is going to fail because I deleted the setup, so there's nothing to log in, right? Yeah, this has been a really interesting, like this has been the users who wanted this. They're like, we want last fail, we want last failed. So there's some love coming for all that, which is good. I love it. Okay, open my HTML report and everything. So there we go. And let's see.
The power of live demos.
Let's see, because I did this, like,
Look at that.
My command line worked.
That's
Running
really
2
cool.
tests
Yeah,
using
that's
2
really
workers.
cool.
Right now, I should have fixed the test really to really kind of show it, but you can see it didn't run the other tests, right? It only ran those 2 tests, right? 2 failed, 1 passed, and now there's only 2 tests.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And let me, you might stop that, and then you might fix that. Get started, save, and you run again. See, I'm a VS Code user. I don't do this terminal stuff. But if you do the terminal stuff, no test found because I ran it again. I've got to run it again. I keep closing the terminal. This is my fault. But yeah, you get the idea. There's 3 tests there. And now if I run this one, it's last fail, it's only running the menu logged in because the others are now passing. Awesome feature, thanks. We already had the last fail option using the UI mode. Yeah, so if you're using UI mode, that's, obviously, this is like command line people. This is
yeah, to be fair, I'm excited about this. I'm part of the command line.
You're the command line person. Yeah.
I don't know if that puts me in the minority, but I have a hard time getting out of the command line. So this is fantastic for me. But I do know that, yeah, there's also the UI folks that might already have some of this stuff.
Oh, great. Too much on last fail. I've had enough of terminal. There you go. 1 test using 1 worker. Okay. So live demos are so always fun. They are. Anyway, there you go. That's running 1 test using 1 worker because only 1 test failed, as you can see. Cool. There's some other couple of things in the release notes. So again, check out the release notes in your own time, and you can go through all those other miscellaneous stuff. And the video will be coming soon. And I think that means let's just go to questions.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I'll chime in about release notes, by the way, if you ever have like 20 minutes, just like read through previous releases, and I can guarantee you'll find little nuggets in previous releases you didn't know existed. Like one of the things that actually I had submitted an issue, and Butch, another one of the ambassadors, was like, hey, like take a look like 2 releases ago, and there was like 1 line in it that had added some minor thing that might have addressed what I was thinking. And so like the amount of little pieces of gold that you'll find just reading through the release notes, not just for the most recent one, but in general, absolutely, I think you should, it's worth it. Do you mind if I just throw some things, Debbie, your way, just based off of what I've seen so far in chat?
Yeah, I can try and, highlight it and put it on the screen, but we'll see if we can make this happen. But yeah, go.
So Matt Russell, way back at the beginning of chat, had asked a little bit about component testing and basically asked, it's been marked as experimental for a little bit now, and was wondering about the intentions for the capability. Do you guys see it becoming stable? Do you see abandoning it? Or is it sort of in a happy medium that you're just going to let this go for a little bit as experimental?
I hate the word abandon. That sounds terrible.
Abandon sounded a bit stark, so I was a little bit like, okay, like abandon. I mean, status quo, maybe?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. I think the component testing needs a lot more work on our part to make sure it is, it's at the right place where it needs to be. Right. So there needs to be a lot more kind of testing basically done to make sure component testing is stable enough to come out of experimental. I would love to see it come out of experimental. I will push for that with the team. But let me know what you're missing, Matt, on what, send us your feedback through the component testing and feature requests in GitHub, and let us know, what's stopping you. Is there anything that we haven't covered that needs us to help us get out of experimental? Or is it like fully feature ready and ready to go, and we should just remove the flag and that's it, happy days? We're looking for everyone's feedback, whoever's using component testing, to help us take it out of experimental. So do let us know. But I know the team are working on some things on it and helping to improve it. So it's definitely not being abandoned, and it should come out of experimental, but I do not know when.
And then remind me, Debbie, are there other features right now under experimental? I thought there was just component testing and maybe 1 or 2 other, but is there anything else labeled as experimental right now?
I can't remember. We like
support, if I'm remembering correctly, or is emulator support not marked as experimental?
No, it's kind of like the Android stuff, isn't it? It's yeah. I don't even know where that is in the docs, but yeah, that's it's hiding somewhere in the documentation.
I was just curious. The word experimental, I was like, I can't remember if there's anything else Playwright-wise. There's an implementation question here that I thought was rather interesting. Is there a way to designate a specific, so this is Vitor, I hope I'm pronouncing the name properly. Is there a way to designate a specific set of spec/test files to execute with a single worker while the test run with multiple workers? So on the surface, I found the question interesting in the sense of like, oh, interesting idea, the idea that different aspects of the suite would need different workers. But then when I was thinking about this, I'd love clarification on the question, because I would like to know the benefit of something like this from the perspective of the user, because I wonder if using a single worker is actually just trying to control tests running serially for that one file as opposed to it running in parallel for other files. So curious to get other people's thoughts on the benefits or use case of this question. And then is it even possible? I don't think it is, unless maybe you're using sort of projects and combining different projects into a single run. But Debbie, any thoughts so far on this question?
No, I wasn't even listening to your answer.
No, you're
By the way.
totally fine.
Oh, terrible.
Well, let me say,
But
anyone else has anything in chat? Because I
was just going to say, I just, Radek just kind of went experiments with an API part of the docs, and I went, oh my God, that's where they are. So I went over to the API docs and then basically found it, and you can see there the Android.
Oh, cool. Okay, sweet.
Android
So
device. So if you do want to look at that.
Android, yeah. Okay, great. WebView, Electron.
So that's experimental. If you want to look over that, that's under the API docs.
I was playing around a week or two with Blazor support. Is Blazor support in the docs? I couldn't remember. I wasn't using the docs for Blazor support.
Well, Blazor is just like a way to write your front-end application using C# language.
Sorry, we were testing a Blazor application with Playwright.
Exactly.
And that's what I was just.
So you would, if you were testing Blazor, then you would write your application in C# because that's what
that's what you're. Got it. Okay, sorry. I was talking to someone who was doing it on my team, so I might have spoken out of line in that sense. Every chat, there's a question about Cucumber/Playwright. For the most part, I think that I always take the opportunity to shout out Tally's project. Tally's a Playwright ambassador. Is really, I think, running the repo and always wants extra hands for this. But then the question is always, is there plans for official support? And Debbie, I always take the opportunity to ask.
Yeah, and the question is, do we need cucumber? I love cucumber sandwiches, but no, I don't know. Basically, this is something that needs to get the community behind it to push for it. If you think this is a feature that the Playwright team should be working on and making it part and integrated into Playwright, then we need your support to basically make that happen by upvoting the issue that's already there, by commenting on it, and by making it that more people want it, because we do things as people kind of want things. Obviously, as well, if it can happen, right? People want things that sometimes it's not possible for us to do. But definitely keep pushing for it. And things do happen when you push for it, like last failed, like watch mode, like UI mode. All these happen because of the community. So make it happen. If you think it's something you want, push for it.
Quick pause, by the way. There's 165 people here, which is really, really cool. So like props to that. I mean, that's at least the last number I saw. So this is really cool. And I know Discord, I think we got up to like 130 last time, maybe. So
yeah,
it's really cool to see. Interesting question here. When it comes to like your guys' internal release process, do you guys have performance benchmarks when you guys run your own Playwright tests before release on your own code? Are you guys measuring any kind of performance benchmarks at all, or is that not a major concern? I'm just curious. That this was a question from I'm not going to be able to pronounce super well. It looks like Jack Test Owac, OWAC.
Yeah.
Just curiosity.
I would say that is definitely a Mac question, right? All the tests you would have to ask him, because I don't run those tests personally, but the team runs tests on absolutely everything. And I don't know to the level of benchmarking and things like that, but you can definitely ask that question through a Discord server maybe, and I'll see if Max could help answer that.
I'll chime in. So we run our own. So like in our case, what we're doing is we also, along with the HTML report, just export the JSON report. And from that, there's a lot of easy data to assert performance against. And so what we do is we benchmark performance, not necessarily of Playwright, but of the apps that we're testing using the JSON report. And it's been a really useful tool creating data over time. And so certainly, I know the question was focused on Playwright, but if you do want to benchmark your own reports, to me, we found the easiest is just include JSON report and then just basically pull out the necessary data there. I'm going to go ahead here. Yeah.
And the last version of VS Code, sometimes the test is not run as no test found. I don't change anything and don't save. I need to run reload. if you find something like that, obviously like update to the latest version, make sure you're using the latest. At the moment I showed you pre-release. So I'll, use the pre-release version, for example. But if you're finding a bug, like report it and let us know, because if you're having a problem, possibly the rest of the world is also having that same problem. Don't think I'm the only one. It doesn't just work for me. Let us know and tell us what's wrong so we can fix it. And then I've got any plans on Playwright having Playwright VS Code extension, mainly locator selection, working for Playwright library, not test projects. So we're focusing on like Playwright test rather than the library. So everything that we do is going to be focused through the Playwright test runner.
Cool. This is a question that you've answered in Discord a couple of times, but new format, new group of people, public roadmap. Could you mind just sharing with the group kind of the Playwright philosophy on why you guys don't publish the roadmap, and kind of just bring people up to speed on that end of things, given that this is a new format, but maybe some new community members joining and watching this?
Yeah, so I think with the way like Playwright works and how fast we get things done, the thing is that the community drives what Playwright needs and what Playwright releases. And it's all based on the community. So we could turn around as a team and say, right, for the next year, we're going to work on these 5 features, right? But maybe nobody wants them. Maybe we just thought that they were amazing. And us, like our small team, found that this was great. But the wide world, which are many, many, many developers, want something else. Well, we want to do what the many, many developers want and not just want our small team want, right? So it's very important for us to not turn around and promise something that then it looks like we're not going to care about the community and not going to do what other people want, or we're going to work on something that is basically, we had a great idea and it was just an idea and it didn't work out. So everything is open source. Everything's in GitHub. You can see what we're working on. You can check out the GitHub pull request. You can constantly look at things. You can look at the upvotes. You can see, what thing people want the most. And yeah, we basically go through, our roadmap is basically the GitHub issues. That's our roadmap, and feature requests goes through there. So if you do have something, tell us and we will work on it. And I love this. Let me see if I can. Are there any plans to integrate the VS Code extension or CodeGen with an artificial intelligence tool like Copilot? I would absolutely love for that to happen. I think Microsoft would love for that to happen too, because, we're Copilot mad these days. But it's not as easy as just, there's a lot of work that goes behind it. So we have to think about, do we have the time to dedicate a couple of engineers to work on that right this very minute? Right? No, but maybe in a couple of months, yes. Who knows? But yeah, I love it. Yeah. AI everywhere, Copilot everywhere.
We've done some of our own playing around with it, and it's really cool. I mean, it works. I think that it still absolutely needs someone driving it, but I think the main thing that, oh, have I lost you? My internet looks like it might have dropped. Debbie, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're breaking in a little bit now, but it's fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I was saying that we've done a little bit of trying to basically use AI to drive Playwright generation, and it's worked. It's been fun, but it's also it doesn't work consistently enough to where it's like, okay, we're not quite there. But it'll be fun to see how you guys integrate the AI into it. I think that the context of the DOM and context of all the different elements is the main thing, though, that's been really fascinating to look at. Cool. All right. So I just had my cat reset. So it looks like you just grabbed something. Go for it.
Yeah. Are we planning supporting any other continuous integration, continuous deployment, CI, CD tools apart from GitHub Actions? So we show GitHub Actions in the Getting Started docs because it's very simple and because it's like something we just give you out of the box, because, GitHub, Microsoft just works together, easy, done. But there is a whole documentation page on CI, CD, and you can check that out because we support all of them. So let me see if I can quickly find the page, because there's a lot of learn more about running tests and other CI providers. Let me quickly share my screen. There we go. So have a look in there. You've got, Azure Pipeline, Circle CI, Jenkins, etc. So check that out. And then if there's something you're missing, then let us know. Thanks.
Interesting question about certifications, which I know is something that I asked you about. And I think that was something that you had sort of said, like, interesting idea, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So the idea of certifications, because I do know that Microsoft in general offers like Azure certifications and stuff like that. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I can't pull that question because I don't know where it is, but I'm working on a Learn module right now with one of the team here at Microsoft. A Learn module is Microsoft Learn platform, and that'll help you go through all the content, like, get started with Playwright, etc., and learn from that. Once we have that released, we can then try and create certifications based on the Learn module. You can't just create a certification if you don't have something to follow to learn, right? So first you got to learn, and then you can be certified. So definitely something in the works, possibly for the end of the year, maybe next year. It won't be something that's going to happen tomorrow, that's for sure. But something we are working on is having more Learn content, so that you can at least learn, and then we'll worry about certifying you later.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that I'll throw out there, by the way, that I've learned, guys, is I kind of picture Debbie has this whole team behind her at Microsoft that can make a lot of this stuff happen. And then one of the things that she's pointed out to me is that's not necessarily the case. I think you have a very supportive group behind you at Microsoft, but not necessarily a ton of extra hands helping you do some of this stuff. So that was kind of eye-opening for me, realizing like, oh, like the volume of stuff that you're producing from a code base as well as the documentation is pretty remarkable. How, I don't want to say small the team is, but how dedicated the team is on that sense. But that was eye-opening to say the least.
Yeah, no, it's true. We are a very, very small team. For advocation, it's just me. So I am basically doing everything. And that's why I rely on people like Ben. So thank you, Ben, and other ambassadors out there who help us do and are going to support us more in getting even more done. Remember, Playwright is open source, although like we are Microsoft, it is open source and it's free, right? So there's how much kind of, how many more team members can we throw into a free product? So we've got to be very careful in that as well, right? We would love to have a team of 100 people. We would get so much done, but they're not going to give us 100 people. So it's not going to happen. So we will continue to be a small team, but we will produce a hell of a lot, especially with the help of the community. And that's why we rely on the community so much. So thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you all our ambassadors for helping us with everything. And yeah, contribute to Playwright if you want to help us out as well.
So one of the themes I've seen in chat is feature parity across all the languages. And I'm just curious if you could share a little bit of thoughts on, to what extent is feature parity across all of it a goal of yours? How much do you guys try to support all possible languages? Like, generally speaking, what's the philosophy when it comes to, making sure that, how much do you try to support each language?
That is a great question. So again, we look at our usage of the community, and JavaScript, TypeScript is like, I don't want to give an exact number because I'll give the wrong number because I don't have the right number, but Max would have this number. But like say JavaScript and TypeScript is our top, very, very top 90%, for example, right? And then Python is climbing. It's climbing really, really fast and steadily. And it's doing, very, very well within the community. And I think C# then is just probably under that, and then Java. So that's kind of like the way it is in the scale. I actually have in the new release, I don't know if they actually got merged yet, but I worked on the .NET documentation. So you should see some really nice documentation coming into the guides. Let me see, is it done? It's not released yet. It will be released very soon. But that's a nicer way. So I've gone through the docs and improved them, and I'm getting people to help us get some Python videos done. And I can't, like you said, Ben, I can't get everything done. I would love to sit down and get all the content done for Python, and the team would love to get, all the features for Python and .NET up to the same level. We do have other teams within Microsoft helping us possibly improve certain parts, say .NET, for example. But it's a slow process and we will get there. But there are things that will never get there because the way it works is that JavaScript, TypeScript is our own test runner, custom test runner. Therefore, we can do a lot more. Whereas in Python, we're using PyTest. PyTest is pretty good. So there's not a lot that needs to be done, but UI mode, we can't get it working. We'd have to put it into PyTest somehow, or I don't know what you'd have to do to make that work. And .NET, again, has its own test runners. We don't need to create a test runner for Python and for .NET because they have one, right? So we're leveraging it. Whereas in JavaScript, we needed to because, there wasn't a good one that we could use. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, we made the custom one. Therefore, we have a lot more features in JavaScript, TypeScript. But the others are pretty good. So
So I'll call out. We have 12 minutes left. I think there's a bunch of questions we're probably not going to get to. So apologies in advance, and please move those over to Discord. And actually, one of the interesting things that I'm noting down for myself is like trying to do like technical themes ones for update ones. I know this YouTube live is kind of the first that we're doing as kind of an introduction. Debbie, you just pulled up tallies. What are your thoughts?
Sorry.
No, oh, you're
No,
fine.
just yeah, someone was just asking about plugins, and Tally answered the questions. Great answer. It's NPM, so just use NPM.
Perfect. So this was a good one, just given that we're kind of first time on YouTube. When it comes to people contributing to Playwright, any plans for mentoring or teaching for open source contributions, any information or tutorials around architecture or text infrastructure, that you could point people towards? What are your guys' general thoughts or direction for people when they want to get involved from an actual code perspective?
I don't know. That's an interesting question. So, teaching open source contributors, I think it depends. There's a lot of different levels of open source contributors. For example, I'm an open source contributor, but I contribute more to documentation and to videos and learning material. And then Max started off as an open source contributor, contributing to code, and then he got hired by Microsoft. So basically, it depends on your level of kind of what type of contribution you want to do. When it comes to code, it's literally like just kind of diving in and understanding the code and working with it. We don't have the time to really teach people about the architecture behind how Playwright works. That's something you'd have to just dive in for yourself. And mentoring, well, I think teaching, I think if you want to try and get started with contributing to open source, especially to Playwright and especially to documentation, I make so many mistakes in the docs. Like, it's terrible. I think I should use Copilot more. I should use AI more. There's always typos. There's always errors. Go through them, fix them, help them, start those little contributions. You'll get to know how that works. And if you do have, if you do want to contribute to the actual code itself, just make a pull request and you'll get feedback, and they'll tell you, oh, you need to do this, or you're missing this, or you're missing that. So do like, yeah, just jump in, dive into the deep end and go for it. Best way.
Mike, I actually just want to shout this out because it's something that we've played around with internally. It'd be nice to have a hook into the test recorder so we could override what is put into the generated code. I know I think there was a feature request similar to this. I also know that I found a project like a month and a half ago that had forked some of the code and was doing some stuff around this. This is the kind of thing that I always find interesting because I have a list of 15, 20 things for my own use of Playwright where I'm like, oh, I'd like this or I'd like that. I'm just shouting this out mostly because it is one of those things that I would love. And one of the things that I do think that's really great about Playwright being open source is the ability to fork the project, being able to add little things for our own use cases. And then I think getting involved with like-minded people. So I guess I'm shouting this out because it looks like there's a couple other people who might have chatted. Mike, DM me and we can talk about writing a little bit of our own snippets that might make our life easier. That doesn't necessarily have to go into the main project. But at the same point, I also, that's just me shouting that out because that hit a portion of something that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, definitely feature request for that one, I would say, or check that there's not one there. And if there is one there, upvote it.
Yeah. All right. So 8 minutes left, Debbie. What else from chat? Has anything stood out to you that you want to spend your last 8 minutes on this first Playwright Live talking about, or where do you want to go for this last 8 minutes?
Great question. So whoever gets the first question in like as fast as possible gets answered. Now there's a lot of questions here that we're not going to get a chance to read because they're there, but I will go through them later. If I see something that's really kind of like standing out, I will bring all this back to the team. So they will kind of also get an insight from what you're asking for, what the community is looking for. I think this is really, really important because we need to learn from you on what you're looking for, what you want. Like component testing came up, Cucumber came up. So these are things that I will bring back, right? That's important. There's other things. If you're finding your questions not being answered, it's not because we're ignoring you. It's literally because it's so hard to scroll through them all. But do ask them on Discord, on our Discord server, and do kind of keep reaching out to us through GitHub so that the team can help you out. I think, yeah.
So then if we take a step back and talk a little bit looking forward. So you and I have thrown around a couple ideas around happy hour, Playwright Live. How do you picture YouTube versus Discord, this content platform versus the happy hour sort of, where do you see these platforms going over the next just 3 to 4 months as you and I kind of continue to experiment with YouTube versus Discord? Like, do you feel like you think that there's a role for one or the other, or do you think that just happy hour bounces from Discord and then we do Playwright Live? Could you help set expectations for folks for what YouTube Live might, or Playwright Live might look like for the next couple of months?
It's totally experimental, right? This is their first one. We're getting a lot of people watching. This is great, but I have absolutely no idea if people are going to walk away from here and go, I am never watching this again, or if they're going to go, wow, that was amazing, I learned so much, and they're going to be back the next time. So we're just going to keep checking it out. I would love your feedback on this, if this is something that you would like to see monthly, if this is something that you'd like to see more than monthly. That will depend on my time, Ben's time, can we do it, etc. But definitely just let us know, should we continue doing the Discord, which is kind of like stuck in Discord and then it's never recorded. YouTube, at least it's recorded, so America, when they wake up, they're going to be able to watch this, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, it's definitely something that I want to continue doing at least monthly, and as I said before, in Spanish as well. That's the plan for this, and every month there might not be a new release, but there might be something to show you, some cool tips and tricks that I learned from the team that I can kind of take back to you. And I'd also like to feature other people as well. So you don't have to just listen to constantly boring me and Ben all the time, right? We'll spice it up and show other people in there as well.
Yeah. So what I'll add, right? So like this first hour, pretty high level. I think we answered a couple specific questions, but I think that in the past, things that have been really great, having people come up on stage and sharing their own stories, bringing developers on if they're available, but I know they're heads down right now, bringing other ambassadors in. And then when we really, don't have song and dances, doing little exercises and doing giveaways for, I can never remember the swag. So this is Playwright Swag, which is, as of now, one of the few ways there has been to get your hands on Playwright Swag has been to win the little Playwright 15, 20-minute challenges that we've done and counting games and stuff like that. And so please just let us know the good, bad, and the ugly, because otherwise we'll do our best to provide value, but we don't know unless there's feedback. Okay, reminders from this. Oh, go ahead, Debbie. Sorry.
No, there's a question there on asking to improve the docs, etc. Just, anything that we don't get to, again, like just like put a question in there. We will try our best to improve docs. Sometimes improving docs means adding examples and adding, full on demo, and it takes a bit more time. But also, if you have a want to improve the docs, please go ahead and submit a pull request and say, oh, I've got this beautiful example that's really working well. Definitely add it.
New release, VS Code extension version. So that was the one thing I wanted to call out, because I can guarantee someone's going to be like, I'm so excited to do the VS Code extension and get the new release that Debbie called out. And as a reminder, the way you get it is the update, not to latest version, but to the, I'm trying to remember the specific terms the VS Code uses, not experimental, pre-release version. Is that what they called it?
The VS Code is the pre-release, yes.
Pre-release. Okay, that's going to come up. Thanks for an awesome time. Great. Yeah, and I'm really curious if Robbie from Sacramento, who joined at 4 a.m, is still
awake.
I have no idea. Robbie, if you're here, awesome. If you're not here, don't blame you. It was 4 a.m. when you started listening to this. So who knows if Robbie from Sacramento is still here. Any other questions here in the last couple minutes, Debbie, or what do you want to do as we wrap this up?
There was a question on mobile testing. I'm just going to answer because it's really easy. Is there any plan for mobile app testing support? And the answer is no. Sorry, we are doing browser only, but there is the experimental Android, so check that out, and you can emulate devices, but we do not have a team big enough to go away from the browser and do mobile apps. So that's just not going to happen.
For the win.
Robbie's still here. Great.
Oh, he starts work at 4:30. All right. I thought you woke up for us, Robbie, so maybe that makes it a little bit less impressive, but no. It's yeah, mobile's interesting. I think that transparently, that's an area that like whenever we're like, hey, we use Playwright, people are like, well, can it work for our mobile app? You know, we've found plenty of areas of working around it. It's not been too much of an inhibitor, but I do know it's a constant, like every one of these get-togethers, it's Cucumber, it's mobile, and there's always a couple of those. So I do think that what I would say, just being the community member on this call, that please continue to advocate. I think that I've seen a lot of change just based on advocating, and you know, maybe Debbie is going to afterwards
Pushing it.
stop.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
just keep
just like doesn't
keep
hurt to
pushing
push
for
it.
things. Like keep pushing for things. Keep saying you want mobile, you want mobile. I'm saying no, but it doesn't mean no in the future. Microsoft might one day give us a team of 100 people and we work on mobile, right? It could happen. So just keep telling us what you want, and we will eventually, you know, get to that perhaps, or you know, give you another solution, because there's always another solution that can work for you.
The other one that I just will call out in the last minute as we try to wrap this up, some real world demos of scaled Playwright systems would be amazing to see. So I actually did a LinkedIn post about this, and I was trying to get more traction on it. So I have collected probably 4 or 5 projects that are like very large open source projects that are using Playwright. I also know that Playwright docs links to a couple interesting projects, but if you know of like very large open source projects that have really like extensive end-to-end Playwright suites and are using all the custom fixtures and all the database components and all these other things, please put it into Discord, because I think other people are desperate for those like real world like things. I was describing it to a team member, like you go on YouTube and you can see like build the Next.js app in the next 15 hours. And I would love like a 15-hour long YouTube video of someone being like, I'm going to build out the extensive Playwright end-to-end suite in some real world app. And that kind of video, you know, who knows, maybe I'll try to do someday. But if someone's like, hey, here's a really great example of open source projects that have a lot of end-to-end tests in different ways, please shout it out in Discord, because I know other people would love that.
I would say Kenzie Dodds has featured Playwright in his latest web dev course, and I'm sure his code is open source. So if you want to check out his website and check out the course content, the course is paid content if you want to actually take the course, but I think the actual code is there. So do check that out. He's creating great material there. And other kind of demos, yeah, like if you want to help us create demos, we have Playwright examples, and there's like 3 examples in the repo, and I'm like building more examples and building more examples, but as you can see, it's going to take so long. So if you've got like this idea and went, oh, I could help adding an example here, let me know. I'll work with you and let's add those in so it can help other people, and that would be really cool as well.
Cool. And then, yeah, the other thing that I'll shout out about real world stuff is Max, one of the developers, you've heard the name Max, has a GitHub page that is cool Playwright stuff. I want to say it's what it's called. But it has a bunch of really awesome links on it too, just on his own GitHub page. That's super helpful. And I'll try to drop that in chat. We are officially 1 minute overtime, which we started 2 minutes after. So Debbie, how do you want to wrap this up? First time doing Playwright Live.
I would say make sure you're following all of our ambassadors, checking out all their content, and make sure you're following us on Discord and join us there. And I want to say a big thank you to all for joining. A big thank you to Ben. Community, you are all amazing. Playwright is amazing because of you. So keep testing your applications, keep using Playwright, and keep giving us feedback. Have a great day, everyone. And yeah, happy testing. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Now I'm going to do this magic banner stuff. You ready?
Let's
Let me see if I can do it. Let's see if I can do it.
Professional stream here. Let's
watch
see how.
Watch this. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. We go say bye, everyone.